manipulation, betrayal, and murders. Today we'll discover who were the worst women of the Bible, the crimes they committed, and the story behind them. If this topic interests you, consider helping us by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel to help share this video. In third place, as the worst woman of the Bible, we have Herodias. Before we talk about her atrocity, we need to understand what happened with John the Baptist. John the Baptist was a charismatic and influential prophet who began preaching in the regions around the Jordan River, denouncing sins and encouraging people to repent. He attracted a considerable following due to his impactful message and life of devotion in the desert. The situation became tense when John the Baptist publicly criticized the marriage of Herod Antipas with Herodias. Herod Antipas, the ruler of Galilee and Perea, had divorced his legitimate wife and married Herodias. The problem was that she had also recently divorced her husband, who was Philip, Herod Antipas's brother. Herod Antipas's marriage to his brother's divorced wife was not only a moral issue but also challenged Jewish laws. John the Baptist courageously denounced this illicit union and did not hesitate to point out the moral consequences of this action. His impassioned speech did not go unnoticed by Herodias, who, offended and threatened by John's message, desired to kill him. However, Herod Antipas had an admiration for John the Baptist. He initially respected John as a prophet, even though at times he was puzzled by his words. However, Herod Antipas eventually succumbed to political and social pressures, as well as the influence of Herodias, and ordered the imprisonment of John the Baptist. John the Baptist, while in prison, became a symbol of resistance, remaining faithful to his principles in the face of adversity. His imprisonment not only symbolized the conflict between divine love and human ambitions, but also became a turning point in history. Herodias was not satisfied with just the imprisonment. For her, that alone was not enough. She truly desired to execute John. The climax of Herodias' story occurs during an extravagant banquet hosted by Herod Antipas. Herodias strategically instructed her daughter, often identified as Salome, to dance and entertain before Herod, enchanting him to the point where he promised to give her anything she asked for. Then came the great opportunity. Salome, instructed by her mother, chose as her prize the head of John the Baptist on a platter. Herod, a man of his word bound by his oath and fearing the reaction of the guests, granted the request. Thus, John the Baptist, the bold prophet who criticized the marriage of Herodias and Herod, was finally executed. In second place among the worst women of the Bible, we find Athaliah. Athaliah's story begins in the corridors of power in Judah. She was the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, thus possessing a deeply rooted lineage in the political and spiritual instability that characterized that time. Her son Ahaziah ruled bravely over the northern kingdom. However, about a year later, both Ahaziah, the ruler of Judah, and Jehoram, the leader of Israel, met their tragic fates at the hands of Jehu, the commander of the army of Israel. After the death of her son, none of his descendants were old enough to assume the throne of Judah. Thus, Athaliah saw the opportunity to further consolidate her position. She undertook a bold maneuver by seizing control of the throne, defying established expectations and traditions. Athaliah's ambition knew no bounds. Upon assuming power, she saw the royal line of David as a threat to her newly acquired position. The line of David held special significance in Jewish tradition, representing the divine promise of a Messiah descended from David. To achieve her goal, Athaliah undertook a drastic and cruel action by ordering the execution of all the descendants of the house of David who could pose a future threat to her reign. This attempt to exterminate the royal line involved a series of violent murders aimed at eliminating any potential competition for her throne. However, her brutal strategy was interrupted by Jehoiada, the high priest, who hid Joash, the only surviving descendant of David, in the temple. This bold action ensured the continuity of the line of David, despite Athaliah's efforts. Later, when Joash reached the appropriate age, Jehoiada orchestrated a plan to crown him as king. Jehoiada conducted a public ceremony in favor of Joash, heralding the descendant of David, and the populace fervently supported the legitimate restoration of the Davidic line. Athaliah, however, was not deceived by the claims of Athaliah's reign marked by intrigue and violence. Now, in first place, the cruelest woman of the Bible, Jezebel, a Phoenician princess, married Ahab, the king of Israel, sealing a political alliance. Her influence transcended the boundaries of marriage as she brought with her the worship of Baal, a pagan god, introducing idolatry into Israel. Her marriage to Ahab became a union marked by powerful but negative influence that cast shadows over the nation. Jezebel was a staunch advocate of Baal worship, encouraging the construction of altars and temples dedicated to this pagan deity. Idolatry descended under her influence, distancing the people of Israel from their traditional faith. Jezebel personified corruption and manipulation. Her influence introduced not only idolatry but also brutality against those who opposed her. She ordered the execution of several prophets of Jehovah, eliminating those who opposed her religious beliefs, including intense persecution of the prophet Elijah, whose life was threatened by the queen's fury. Moreover, she abused royal power to finance and support hundreds of Baal prophets, using state resources to promote this foreign religion. A striking passage from the Bible regarding Jezebel's wickedness tells the story of Naboth, a righteous man and owner of a vineyard next to the royal palace. He refused to sell his property to Ahab even when the king offered fair compensation. Ahab's desire for Naboth's vineyard became an obsession, but the righteous man's refusal remained unshaken. Here enters Jezebel's wickedness. Seeing Ahab's dejection at not obtaining the vineyard, she devises a malicious plan to fulfill the king's desires. Jezebel conspires to falsely incriminate Naboth by fabricating charges against him. False witnesses are summoned to accuse Naboth of blasphemy against God and the king. Jezebel's evil plot reaches its climax when Naboth is condemned and stoned to death based on fabricated accusations. The cruelty of this scheme reveals not only Jezebel's wickedness but also the moral corruption that pervaded Ahab's reign in Israel. Divine justice did not delay in manifesting itself. The prophet Elijah confronts Ahab and Jezebel, announcing God's judgment on them for Naboth's death and declaring that Jezebel's wickedness would not go unnoticed by God. The prophet Elijah proclaims that the dogs will lick her blood in the city of Jezreel. Later, Jezebel's end was as dramatic as her life. The Bible narrates that after Ahab's death, his son Jehu assumed the throne. Driven by a divine mission, Jehu confronted Jezebel. The queen attempted to seduce him with her cunning, but divine justice prevailed. Jezebel was thrown from a window by a king's officer, and her body was devoured by dogs, as foretold in Elijah's prophecy. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please let us know in the comments from which city you're watching this video, and remember to subscribe to the channel to help spread our work. And may God be with you.